Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're here getting ready to start round 3 of the 2017 Arizona Regional Championships. A little bit of interesting stuff happened last round. Do you have the updates for us?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and give you some updates. These are going to be people who are 2-0, people you might be interested to hear about. Alberto Lara won his game against Carlos Cos. It's a shorter list because, only so many people can beat 2-0. Chase Liebert won his game against Fred Verdugo. Gerard De La Cruz won his game against Aaron Zhang. Giovanni Costa won his game against Bridger Snow. Jake, as you saw, won his game against Mike. Let's see, Mitchell Davies won his game against Travis Evans. Patrick Smith won his game against Will Giddings. Riley Factura won his game against Lee Camacho. And Samuel Harsma won his game against Mara Hazen. And Will Hall won his game against Cody Gilman.
And on that note, we're getting right into this battle. We have Kamron Jahadi versus Alberto Lara. Kamron is on the bottom screen. Alberto is on the top screen. So given that, I will read out Cameron's team first. Kamron is running Cresselia, Groudon, Bronzong, Xerneas, Smeargle, and Salamence against Alberto's Cresselia, Salamence, Kangaskhan, Talonflame, Groudon, and Xerneas. So no Kyogre this round.
No, instead we're going to go ahead and see what looks a lot more like a pre-Worlds metagame with these Groudon Xerneas variants. It looks like, actually, if I'm not mistaken, is Cam's running Aaron Trailers? Is that Aaron Trailers one of his team with the... I see the Cresselia and the Bronzong.
It looks similar. We'll have to see for certain.
Yeah, so a similar team where you've got both of those Trick Room options. Meanwhile, you have Alberto has Tailwind option in Talonflame, but he also has the Trick Room in Cresselia. So it's going to be very interesting. It's a near mirror whenever you have Groudon and Xerneas going up against each other. It can be a difficult matchup, to say the least. And I did hear the two of them talking a little bit before the match, and apparently Cams doesn't have the best record against Alberto, but Alberto didn't like hearing that because he was worried that would jinx him. So this should be an interesting game. Both of these players are phenomenal. Obviously, Cams is a previous Worlds winner in 2011, I think.
That sounds about right.
In the seniors division, and then Alberto is just a phenomenal player. Did I believe Day 2 Nats? I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head how he did at Worlds, but I know he's a fantastic player. Won multiple regionals before. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, jumping right in, Alberto leads Kangaskhan, Cresselia. Kamron leads that Salamence and Smeargle that is kind of popular right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good position for him. What'll be interesting for me, and I imagine everyone, will be what kind of items Smeargle has, because Focus Sash is very common, but there was a period where we did see some Mental Herb King Shield Smeargles, which in this case would be very nice to see. He could beta fake out into a King Shield. Also, the Intimidate probably helps Smeargle survive a return or maybe even a double edge if it's EV'd right, be able to get off a Dark Void for free.
Yeah, we're going to see that Salamence and Kangaskhan both Mega Evolving this turn. Both these trainers ready to start attacking, possibly right off the bat. Or I stand corrected. There goes Salamence using that Protect to prevent it from taking any damage this turn. Smeargle revealing that it has Spiky Shield will also protect. So it looks like Cams does not want to get faked out this turn.
Oh.
But Cresselia gets the opportunity now to set up Safeguard, which, given that a lot of Smeargle are known for the Dark Void, and that Smeargle just got that speed boost as well from Moody, that Safeguard will definitely play a huge advantage to Alberto.
Yeah, you think that whenever you get that speed boost, it's super clutch, and that's exactly what you need to win, but not after a Safeguard just got set up. So that was honestly a perfect turn from Alberto. Although, what's interesting is that he probably predicted the Protect on the Smeargle, because otherwise if he didn't fake out that slot and Smeargle hadn't protected, he likely would have been able to get a Dark Void off before the Cresselia could get the Safeguard up. Not necessarily. Sometimes Cresselia, we have seen them run a lot faster, and sometimes Cresselia can easily be faster than Smeargle, but Kangaskhan might have easily gone to sleep.
Smeargle using Wide Guard, possibly predicting a Icy Wind from that Cresselia. Salamence going for a Hyper Voice, doesn't deal a lot of damage. Kangaskhan following up with a Return. Gonna bring Salamence down to about half health, and it does look like Smeargle's read was correct. We did see an Icy Wind from Cresselia, but it was completely blocked by that Wide Guard, and Moody does nothing really interesting this turn. Just a couple attack boosts and drops, which aren't really relevant.
Right, and I think that was the perfect adjustment for Cams to make because Smeargle obviously is still a very useful Pokemon. That wide guard we just saw is probably what kept Salamence around. He would have lost. I imagine he would have lost it otherwise. And it also kind of prevents Salamence from doing, not Salamence, prevents Cresselia from doing a whole lot unless it also has Psychic. But then again, you have to wonder because that safeguard. I feel like you want like something like Trick Room or Skill Swap or Helping Hand, and he may have dropped a second attack, which means Cresselia isn't going to be able to do a lot, and Smeargle is free to keep wide guarding. I think Cams does have to keep an eye on his Salamance's health though, because it's not going to be able to take. It might die. It might faint to this return, but if not that, on the second one for sure.
We're going to see a second wide guard from that Smeargle and yet another Hyper Voice from Salamence. Activating Cresselia's Citrus Berry does not pick up any sort of knockout on Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan missing the knockout on Salamence. Salamence just barely hanging on, and we see Cresselia go for yet another Icy Wind. Smeargle getting a defense boost this turn, which could come in handy depending on when the Kangaskhan decides to target it.
Yeah, that's going to make the Smeargle a lot harder to get rid of. Kangaskhan is already intimidated, so that's going to put it at -1, and having that defense boost twice, Smeargle doesn't really have that high defenses to begin with, but because the wide guard keeps it safe from taking any damage from the Cresselia, right now Alberto is going to have a really hard time touching it. He's also, the interesting thing here though is he's going to have to watch out for a Sucker Punch on the Salamence.
Smeargle keeping the wide guard train up. Kangaskhan going for a Sucker Punch. It could have targeted either of these Pokemon. Salamence not attacking this turn, deciding to set up Tailwind instead. And Cresselia revealing yet another move. It has Skill Swap, so it'll be giving Salamence Levitate, but taking away its Aerialate. So as we saw from last game, this can definitely hurt Salamence's damage output in the long run.
Oh, and did you just see that evasiveness boost?
Oh, no,
the
I
Smeargle
didn't.
is getting, the safeguard can only last so long, and right now it is definitely going to be faster because of the Tailwind and because of the speed boost. So once that safeguard goes up or goes down, he's going to be able to Dark Void, and that Smeargle is in a fantastic position to do so. Now, the other interesting thing to note here is that the two of them are in a bit of a mind game because Alberto can keep using Sucker Punch to threaten that Salamence with the priority, but Cams can also switch out to avoid that. However, if Alberto makes that prediction, he's going to get a free return off onto whatever switches in. Granted, it's an intimidated return, so something like a Groudon or a Xerneas that's usually a lot bulkier these days, not going to mind it too much. However, it's any damage that you can avoid, you should avoid any damage you can most of the time. So it's going to be interesting to see how this mind game plays out. He might just want to let it go down, to be honest.
It's hard to say. Smeargle going for another wide guard. Salamence switching to Double Edge, which still deals a ton of damage, unlike Hyper Voice, which probably would feel the lack of Aerialate the most. Salamence taking enough recoil damage to knock itself out as well, so we essentially saw Kamron trade that Salamence for a Kangaskhan knockout, and we see Smeargle continue to get the speed boost. He does get the accuracy drop, so if Kamron is keeping his Smeargle in hopes of Dark Voiding, that accuracy drop could definitely hurt his plan.
Yeah, and I was literally, I was just about to say, if he gets an accuracy boost, that is like the perfect Smeargle you could hope for right now. Granted, the accuracy drop hurts, but you're super fast now. I mean, like, you're a Tailwind boosted +3 fast. However, your accuracy's lower, so you're going to be a lot harder to hit, but we've seen Dark Void hit through worse. So it could still happen, and especially with the Groudon switch here, that could be very problematic for Alberto if his Groudon goes to sleep and starts taking Precipice Blades while it's sleeping. The other thing, you know what's actually interesting here? My initial reaction was going to say, at least Alberto can try to protect his Groudon by skill swapping Levitate onto it. However, he got rid of his Levitate when he skill swapped the Salamence, so it has Aerialate right now. So everything is grounded, and a Precipice Blade is just going to obliterate Alberto's side of the field, especially if Cams can get that Dark Void. I would be very surprised if Cams found a way to lose this game. Although I think it's also interesting to note, I wonder whether the double edge before was to force so that he made himself faint so that he could get this free switch into Groudon.
It's hard to say. We're going to see Groudon on Alberto's side of the field protect this turn. Smeargle going for another wide guard. Precipice Blades will connect with the Cresselia on Alberto's side of the field. It doesn't pick up a knockout, but it surely does some massive damage. And Cresselia takes the opportunity to re-establish Safeguard. So Smeargle doing a lot of work with that wide guard, getting that defense boost.
That's a +4 defense Smeargle.
I don't know. We're not going to see it Dark Void, at least because of that Safeguard, but that's still a very scary Smeargle right now.
I think that's a very safe play for Cams. He didn't want to risk missing on the Groudon and taking that damage on his own Groudon because he wanted it full health so he could handle the Xerneas better. The other thing to note is that because we haven't seen a Psychic come out from this Cresselia, I wouldn't be very surprised at all if it doesn't have that move. So Cresselia can't touch it. Groudon can only Fire Punch, and Groudon resists that. Cam's Groudon resists that. And his Smeargle is at +4 defense, so it's probably not going to mind one too much either. So really, at this point, Cam doesn't have to worry about accuracy. He can just keep wide guarding, going for Precipice Blade, and as long as he hits, he should be fine.
Yeah, and I think this actually shows how useful Smeargle can be in a lot of different situations. You know, Smeargle is essentially protecting Groudon and letting it do what it does best, which is basically use Precipice Blades until it connects with the targets it needs to connect with. We saw it connect with both that Groudon and Cresselia this turn. Not knocking out the Groudon, knocking out that Cresselia. Fire Punch from Groudon attacking that Smeargle, and even though it gets the speed drop, Smeargle's accuracy is boosted 2 stages, so really Smeargle just has to wait around until that Safeguard drops again. Whether or not Xerneas and Groudon combined will be enough to threaten it is really hard to say. We do still have its evasiveness boost on the field.
That's a good point, because I think at this point, if he can preserve either one of these two Pokemon, he can wrap the game up. I wouldn't be surprised if Alberto protects to try and get rid of the Smeargle on Cam's side of the field with a Moonblast. I imagine he would have to Moonblast here. But if Cams can protect his Smeargle and get off either a Fire Punch or another Precipice Blade, and as long as he can connect with that Xerneas, he's going to be in an excellent position.
We are going to see Groudon on Alberto's side of the field protect this turn. Whether or not we see the Xerneas Moonblast is to be determined. Smeargle going for yet another wide guard protecting it. Xerneas actually takes this opportunity to Geomancy, so Alberto trying to, remain offensive despite the fact that he's down to his last 2 Pokemon in this first game of the series. Xerneas will, really, that special attack, special defense, and speed boost will certainly help it, though I think the bigger question right now is can he somehow connect an attack with that Smeargle. We're going to see Groudon on Kamron's side of the field go for another Precipice Blades. Not going to pick up the knockout on Xerneas, but does a lot of damage. And here comes that Moody, gets another accuracy boost, and it's a defense drop, but that Smeargle is still just insane.
Has Cam's got a bad Moody boost? I think maybe he got an attack or a special attack boost that he didn't need, but other than that, he's been getting everything he could possibly hope for.
He's clearly given his Smeargle, a lot of attention in Pokemon Me or something, because that thing is like working out perfectly for him right now in this game.
Yeah, and if Alberto hadn't got that Safeguard up, it would have been all kinds of game over for him.
Yeah, so that brings up the question, going into Game 2, because I think if we see Precipice Blades connect with both sides of the field this turn, it might be game over. Xerneas' Moonblast targeting Groudon, so we're not going to see Smeargle get knocked out this turn. Fire Punch from Groudon also targeting Groudon. That was not a critical hit. It misses the KO. Precipice Blades, it does hit something. Will it pick up the double knockout? Xerneas hanging on with 2 HP. So, going into Game 2, I think the biggest question probably for Alberto is how do I stop that Smeargle from getting these insane boosts? I mean, that was another speed boost. Yeah. What is this Smeargle doing?
This Smeargle is on another level. So, okay, but the interesting thing is it's not technically over. He's easily going to be able to pick off that Groudon with a Moonblast. And if he then crits Cam's Xerneas, which I imagine is in the back, with another Moonblast, Smeargle doesn't have any moves to touch it. Alberto could still find a way to win. Granted, he needs a crit, but the other thing to consider is if Safeguard runs out this turn, which it might.
Yes, it does.
He can Dark Void. He's got the accuracy boost, and it's not going to be. Oh, he did now. Actually, I think his accuracy is back to.
It's around neutral, I believe now.
He might. I feel like he got 2 boosts. Oh, he has the Zong.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, Kamron having that Bronzong in the back. going to easily be able to survive anything that Xerneas throws at it this
Yeah.
turn. I think it's safe to say that Smeargle was the MVP for this match.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of indicative of a lot of players' problems with this format, is you see Smeargle, and it can really just swing a match either way. I think usually people expect Dark Void to be the cause of that, but this time we didn't see any Dark Void. We literally just saw the Smeargle wide guard its way to victory, and that's a perfectly valid move. It's priority, so speed doesn't matter. It doesn't have an accuracy check, so that doesn't matter. So, in a way, while Smeargle did kind of give Cams an easy way to victory, he didn't do it through the traditional means that most people have a problem with this season, which is doing what he just did, getting Dark Voids on everything.
Yeah, though I think it's safe to say that Dark Void didn't really matter. I'm surprised that we saw Kamron use it, actually. I know that Dark Void is kind of a given on Smeargles, but you never know. Sometimes having that little bit of doubt in the back of your head can really sort of help momentum shift around, especially when you're the winning player going into game 2.
Yeah, well, and I don't think we saw his fourth move yet.
No, we did not.
So he was able to preserve that information, which could come in very handy. I mean, the metagame has changed a little bit in terms of what Smeargle tends to run. Crafty Shield used to be very, very popular. It still is. It's still a great move. But I feel like I've seen a lot of fake out, even on non-Scarf Smeargles. So you have to wonder what that fourth move is. I'm sure that's something Alberto's asking himself here. But the real question is, I think, is adjusting going forward. I don't think you bring that Cresselia. It seems like a great Pokemon against... It is a good Pokemon to have in this matchup. But because it's only able to Icy Wind, I don't think it's worth bringing at this point.
Yeah, once again, for any trainers just joining us on stream, we have Kamron Jahadi versus Alberto Lara on stream. Alberto is on the top screen, and he's running Cresselia, Salamence, Kangaskhan, Talonflame, Groudon, and Xerneas against Kamron's Cresselia, Groudon, Bronzong, Xerneas, Smeargle, and Salamence. You know, after seeing Smeargle do so much work, maybe we'll see Alberto bring... oh, wait, he doesn't have a Smeargle. Never mind. Wrong team.
Yeah, wrong team. But, okay, so actually, I know I just said the Cresselia might not be a great option, but I think if he has Trick Room, which you do still see with Icy Wind, that might be the play, is setting up Trick Room, getting a skill swap onto your own Groudon so it's levitating, and just Precipice Blading everything into oblivion, ideally once you can get rid of Smeargle.
Yeah, no Smeargle lead from Kamron this game. We're going to see Groudon and Cresselia instead against Alberto's Cresselia and Talonflame. So a pretty aggressive adjustment, I think, on Alberto's side.
Yeah, and I think his Cresselia is going to have a much better time in this matchup now. Although the interesting thing is, Cam's made a good adjustment too, because if Alberto just tries to go for Icy Winds, Cam can just Trick Room. And in that case, it's not doing a whole lot of damage to either Pokemon on his side of the field. He's totally happy to be even slower than anything else in Trick Room. So Alberto might feel like he doesn't want to go for any attacks, leaving Talonflame to do all the work, which it's a physical attacker. Both of these Pokemon are also very physically bulky. Alberto could set up a Tailwind, but again, he's looking across the Cresselia, so that makes it a risky play. Brave Bird is a nice priority, but it's not going to do a whole lot of damage here. So you might see repositioning. I think a decent move actually from Alberto might be to switch out his Talonflame and try to get Skill Swap for free, but it really depends on speed.
We're not going to see that. Talonflame instead going for a taunt onto that Cresselia. It will connect, so Cresselia cannot use any supporting moves for the foreseeable future. Cresselia on Alberto's side of the field using that Icy Wind to take control of the speed situation, getting a speed drop on both Groudon and Cresselia. Groudon fire punching that Cresselia for a massive amount of damage, activating its Citrus Berry, bringing it back up to health. And I believe we saw Cresselia go for a Trick Room, but it was unable to get it to work.
Yeah, and I think that was actually a pretty good play from Alberto. Taunt is something that you see a lot on Talonflame, especially on this kind of Talonflame, but there was a period in VGC where Mental Herb was very common on Cresselia before everyone really started valuing the bulk a lot more. So it became kind of a risky move to taunt a Cresselia. These days, though, because the meta shifted, it's a lot safer, and in that case, he's free to Icy Wind and shut down his ability to take advantage of being slowed by Icy Wind by getting a Trick Room up and just going to sweep. So really, that was a good meta call and a good tech adjustment from Alberto.
Talonflame burning Cresselia with that Will-O-Wisp move. Cresselia on Alberto's side of the field using Safeguard to prevent any sort of sleep shenanigans from happening if Kamron decided to bring that Smeargle again. Cresselia on Kamron's side of the field going for an Icy Wind, so everybody on the field right now is at -1 speed, so essentially it's the same game as before. And Groudon, you know, finishing up the turn with another Fire Punch onto Cresselia.
I think that's good. I think that's probably a good turn for Cam's, a good return. Getting burned is definitely a problem, but Cresselia is pretty bulky, and because it doesn't have the Mental Herb, it likely has a Citrus Berry, so it's going to be able to survive pretty well. And now that he can equalize the Icy Wind, if he can keep getting Icy Winds off on his own, he's going to be able to have the speed advantage there, and getting rid of the Cresselia is going to be a big boon for him as well.
Brave Bird into Groudon, not dealing any damage. Cresselia on Alberto's side of the field setting up Gravity, which is a very interesting play. He's basically given Groudon permission to start using Precipice Blades to hit everything on the field right now. Psychic from Kamron's Cresselia into that Talonflame, not going to deal a lot of damage, but Groudon follows up with a Fire Punch for the knockout.
See, this is a really tricky turn coming up here, because you have to imagine Alberto just set up Gravity, so he probably wants to get his Groudon in, right? But because Cam didn't get rid of Alberto's Cresselia, they're both going to be able to do Icy Wind shenanigans where both sides might want to protect their Groudon to try and get an Icy Wind onto the other one, get the advantage, and be the, in this case, faster Groudon. But they may just both protect, trade, and Icy Wind. Cam's may win that exchange because Alberto's Cresselia is so damaged, but I actually don't think an Icy Wind from Cresselia picks up the KO there. And yeah, it's a very tricky position. I don't think we know whose is naturally faster yet either, as far as Groudon.
We do not. And in addition to that, we did see Cresselia's taunt run out last turn, so whether or not Kamron tries to set up Trick Room again is, something that Alberto definitely has to consider.
Yeah, I really think actually an aggressive play from either of these trainers would be to just go for a Gravity or a P-Blade, but okay, that is not apparently what's going to happen.
It is not. Cresselia surviving the Fire Punch from that Groudon with just a little bit of health. Icy Wind from Cresselia connecting with both Pokemon, not going to pick up the knockout, so the big question now is, did that Cresselia on Kamron's side of the field go for the Trick Room? It did not. Psychic into the Groudon slot. Doesn't deal any damage, but could be the difference between Precipice Blades getting a knockout here. It connects. Will it knock out the Groudon? It does.
Yeah.
That was such an intense turn.
Wow, but I really think that was a pretty big risk from Cam's, because if his Cresselia didn't faint, he would be in a really bad position. He would have Groudon would still be alive. His own Groudon would still be alive, and but Alberto's would be alive as well, damaged heavily, but it would be faster because it got the Icy Wind off. So now it's just Xerneas. It's just Xerneas versus Groudon, and we've seen this matchup before. It doesn't end well for that deer.
No, and Kamron also has both of his Pokemon remaining in the back as well. So it's almost like that Gravity that Alberto set up was more for Kamron than it was for himself.
Yeah, but I see why he did that. I think it was probably a good play in the long run, but he wasn't able to capitalize on it. Cam's was able to take advantage of it, and I think honestly that's a skill of a great player, because we don't know if Cam's had Gravity, and that's something that any Groudon player definitely is going to want to have. So if you don't have it on your team, it's crucial to take advantage of when you see another player use it. So I think that definitely demonstrates a good familiarity with his own team, but also with other Groudon Xerneas teams.
Yeah, we're going to see Salamence Mega Evolve here, going for the double edge, going for the knockout, and just like that, Kamron Jahadi, wins Game 2 of this match. He beat Alberto Lara 2-0 and is moving on to Round 4, still undefeated, I believe.
Yep, he is going to be 3-0 going into the 4th round of Swiss, and that was... I wonder if we're going to ever see a three-set game on stream here.
I don't know.
We've been trying to give you good... Well, these have been very good games, but... just very, and Alberto played that well, but it's just been very strong games from one of the players, able to get those wins both times. And you know what? I guess that jinx we may have been talking about, that might have been a factor.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people have their superstitions around Pokemon, especially when it comes to Smeargle. So,
Interview?
we'll see. But it looks like Cameron's going to stick around, so we'll be able to interview him. And
Yep.
we will be back with just a moment with that interview. So please stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Kamron Jahadi. Am I saying your name right? Or
Yeah, it's Kamron.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another way to say it, but I tell everyone call me Kamron or Cams.
Okay,
Either one.
Cams. All right, so Cams, tell me about that game. It looked like, I mean, you just kept control over the field like the entire time.
Well, when I saw Alberto Lara, I got really scared because he played almost every single event, and I was just like, and I always lose to him, and it's always like really close, and I always make this like clutch misplay, and I'm always watching I've rewatched a lot of our matches because I feel like Alberto's one of the best people to learn VGC from. If you're ever gonna learn VGC, watch his matches. He plays brilliantly. So I just thought like, man, I want to learn from your matches, but I don't want to keep taking losses. So game one, he set up safeguard, which I didn't expect at all. I don't know if you expected it.
No, not at all.
When he safeguarded, I was like, oh, all right, Smeargle's useless. I'm probably gonna take the game one loss, and I just went for like. I went for broke, and I didn't switch out Smeargle. I'm like, let me wide guard, because if he has Icy Wind, Mens can stay alive, and I can maybe do something. And it worked out, and then he went for the Sucker Punch play, which was really obvious, so I tailwinded. Past that, it was pretty easy. I just, as you saw, wide guard, wide guard, wide guard every turn. Then, game two, I was really nervous in the beginning, because I knew I wanted to lead differently, because I knew he wasn't just going to let me do my Smeargle thing again. But at the same time, I didn't want to like give up the Mens Smeargle lead because I felt it was good. So I took the risk. I went for Cresselia Groudon. I didn't really feel like I've played against Talonflame, Jody Azarelli, and Henry Maxson used it against me at Worlds, and it did really well. So when I saw the Will-O-Wisp, I'm like, okay, I recognize this. I've gone against this set before, and I felt really good bringing Groudon in because it's like, okay, he can't Will-O-Wisp me, whatever. It wasn't crazy close, that one. I mean, it was kind of close, but it came down to the turn where I had Crest that was burned and took some chip damage, and Groudon against his Crest Groudon, and mine was at -1 or -2 maybe, because I think he protected Icy Wind, expecting me to like trick him, or I don't know. I don't remember the match fully, but all I know is every time I play him, I always do the same dumb play. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna protect, trick room, and I'm like, he's gonna call this. Like, if he P-Blades, I might lose. I have Smeargle or Salman's Xerneas in the back, so I'd have Intimidate. I'm like, I could still win if I send out Salman, so I could have Hyper Voice. I would have killed Cresselia and gone ground to like less than 50, and then Zern, I could have Geomancy. So I will be in a good position, so I felt comfortable doing that, even if I lost both. And he called what I usually do, is protect Trick Room, and it just ended up working perfectly. Once I saw that he did that, I'm like, I forgot gravity was up. I'm like, all right, as long as P-Blades miss, it doesn't miss, we win. Yeah.
So you actually bring up a really interesting point that you guys have played so much, you've studied your videos. How much of your predicting that game was versus Alberto as a player instead of the Pokemon on the field?
I feel like a lot of people have a problem when they first become like really good, in that they really underestimate everyone. And now I keep everyone at a certain level. I'm like, all right, they're gonna make at least basic predictions. No one's gonna be dumb enough to like Earthquake Discharge turn 1. They're gonna make at least a basic prediction. But against Alberto, I kind of use the same playstyle I use whenever I play Wolf Glick. I mean, I haven't played Wolf Glick in a long time, and he's obviously much better than me. But when I used to play him online 2011, 2012, I kind of use this mentality where like, all right, he's gonna like outpredict my prediction. Is usually what I'm expecting. So I'm like, all right, this time I'm gonna play against Alberto. And when he let Crest Kang, I was really confused. But I'm like, when he safeguarded, I was just but it did factor in. If I had no idea who Alberto Lara was, I'm like, all right, I might have switched out Smeargle game 1, and I like might have just gone for the Protect Trick Room play, expecting him for the P-Blades, because he has gravity up. It looks like a safe play. So I mean, it did affect it, but I'll give you that much. It affected it a little bit, but I feel like I would have won either way.
All right, so tell me a little bit about the team. Is it something you're comfortable with?
It's something I'm like it's not my team, as you can probably tell. I'm infamous for team stealing. It's Aaron Trailer's team. You gotta steal from an Aaron to get wins around here. So I took this team from Aaron Trailer from Worlds because not because like I'm this huge fan, but like, oh, I gotta use what Aaron Trailer's using, when he's used other teams I didn't like. But I even saw it at Worlds and I didn't like the team. I'm like, oh, Bronzong and Cresselia? That just seems bad. You use one or the other. And then he went 7-0 in the World Swiss. And that's the reason I would still love Aaron Zhang's teams back in the day. Is like he would win nationals with them, and my thing is like if you're winning nationals, it's a very consistent team. So if you're going EXO, Swiss, Worlds, best 3 against the best competitors, even though he didn't win, it has to be a really consistent team. So that's why I took it. I piloted it at the PC last week and I got second, so I'm decently comfortable with it.
That's good. That's good. And one final question. That's Smeargle, man. How did you like train it? Because those Moody Boosts game 1 were just beautiful.
They were just like
Yeah.
evasion, speed. Oh my! I mean, like they didn't really matter too much because of the safeguard, but like I was looking at them like, man, why doesn't it happen in like games where there's no safeguard where I can actually Dark Void? Because like I played last round, they didn't have Dark Void. I was getting defense boost. I'm like, all right. I mean, I don't need this, but okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us.
so much.
Best of luck going on into round 4, and we will be back in a bit with round 4 whenever they post those pairings. So stay tuned.
Thanks.